Hello and welcome to another episode of The Hub on Vital MX, your one-stop shop for motocross news from around the world. Not so much to report this week, which is great news. A lot of riders escaped from Angel Stadium unscathed, but there is one injury for us to get to, as well as a lot of industry news. So let's start with Jorge Prado, who crashed in the first timed qualification session at Anaheim 2 and dislocated his shoulder. Now, it went back in quite quickly, and Prado even hung out to watch the night show and was seen in the pits after the race, without a sling on. So all of that sounds incredibly positive. It has since been announced that he will miss Glendale. Not a surprise, but now there are rumours festering that this will require surgery, and if that is the case, I would seriously doubt that we will see him before the first round of Pro Motocross. It sounds as though they are getting a second opinion to understand what needs to be done. Some more news should surface here shortly. And we will see. Not great news right now, but perhaps it turns into positive news in the coming days. Watch this space. There is in fact a lot of positive news about Kawasaki. This could even be called a Kawasaki episode. Garrett Marchbanks, who missed Anaheim 2 with a suspected shoulder injury, it initially sounded quite serious, but although I hear that he will miss Glendale as well, it sounds like he will be back for the following 250SX West round at Arlington, which means effectively the series goes Glendale, Tampa and Detroit for the East Coast, and then Arlington, which is the return of the West Coast. Drew Adams will race in Glendale, of course, as Pro Circuit have no other West Coast riders, and even if Marchbanks returns so soon, Adams will continue racing. Now, if Masterpool makes it back, that's when Adams could potentially be benched again. So really, how many races Adams gets in depends on Time Masterpool, although you would think that logic would dictate the smart thing to do would be to make Masterpool wait for outdoors, where he will be potentially a title contender. More positive news on the Kawasaki front. They released an Instagram post on Saturday morning, which, quite simply, took the industry by storm. Now, it was quite cryptic. They simply said that they have heard the demand from the fans and alluded to the fact that they have a two-stroke coming. Not much more is known than that at this stage, but it sounds as though it is a legitimate bike, not a pit bike, nothing like that. So perhaps cause to be quite excited? Again, watch this space. There should be further marketing from Kawasaki around that new model here soon. I was supposed to have numbers to share with you by the time that I recorded this, but they haven't come through yet. But unsurprisingly, the social post about a potential Kawasaki two-stroke really blew up with 536,000 likes in 4 days. That tells you that the demand for new two-stroke machinery exists, and that explains why Kawasaki is doing this, whatever this is. We had news from the SMX League this week as they announced the track maps for the SuperMotocross World Championship playoffs in Charlotte, St. Louis, and Las Vegas. They look quite unique again. Charlotte is quite exciting, a very split start. We've had split starts in Charlotte the last 2 years, of course, but this is very split. You will see that on screen now, so that will help illustrate it further. And St. Louis is, of course, more of a Supercross layout, but it does go outside of the stadium. Now, they haven't shown what exactly will happen outside of the stadium. I think that perhaps our imaginations ran away with us to begin with, because it doesn't seem as though it is going to be quite as extravagant as I at least first expected, but it does sound like there will be an adequate section outside of the stadium in the indoor pit area. So once again, watch this space for more information on that. But it does seem quite a interesting track, and I think it will be a welcome addition to SMX. It's a different track, let's say, to the speedways, and I think different is good. What else? Well, Suzuki have the red plate for the first time since Oakland in 2015 Monster Energy AMA Supercross. Ken Roczen had it on his bike that night, but ultimately lost it after a crash in the main event that came via casing a triple. Roczen will once again storm into the 4th round with a red plate attached to his RMZ 450 this weekend, and Glendale has been incredible for him in the past. So maybe he keeps it, maybe he extends his lead. I would certainly look for Ken Roczen and Eli Tomac to shine this weekend, as both riders have the best track record, not only in Glendale but also in Triple Crown, because this is of course the first Triple Crown of the season. Another reason to be excited about the action this weekend. Some more unfortunate news. Rider Di Francesco crashed late last week, just after we released the previous episode of The Hub, and it honestly sounds as though we will not see him until 2026. Although no specifics have been shared, it sounds like he has some gnarly internal injuries, among other bone breaks. So yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a lengthy recovery time. We wish Rider D well. He was very impressive across the first 2 rounds, and I was genuinely excited to see how he would progress through the rest of the year. But now, of course, the priority is getting healthy and back on track, which will take some time. It also doesn't sound like Casey Cochran, his Rockstar Energy Gas Factory Racing teammate, will make the start of East Coast, although that isn't quite firmed up just yet. There isn't much news from Europe at the moment, other than the fact that Thibaut Benestant has changed his number from 198 to 9. Again, not exciting, but next week we will have a lot of European news because the pre-season kicks off with races in the UK and Italy. So it is time to ramp up the MXGP talk. So look for that next week on The Hub when we return to recap everything that happened in the world of motocross. Thank you for watching and listening. We will see you next week.